What's up guys, War History Geek here, and welcome back to another new acquisitions video. So, as we saw in the last one, which was my biggest one to date, I've been getting a lot of really good finds recently, and this one definitely will not disappoint. This one, in my opinion, is going to be my favorite haul slash acquisitions video to date. Now, despite the last one being big and having a lot of great items, this one truly has a great collection of items. So with that in mind, let's get right into it. So my first item here was actually given to me by a family friend who owns an antique shop. He said he bought it in a collection of items and he knows that I would appreciate it, so he gave it to me. So if you're watching this, I really do appreciate it. It's going to go to a great home here in my collection. Now, I have shown one of these before on my channel, and it's one of the souvenir home front pillow covers. So, it's pretty interesting. It's U.S. Army Air Forces here, and you can see a little, like, definition or poem about a sweetheart from Jefferson Barracks. And ordinarily, you know, this would be just an interesting wall hanger or something, or just something to have in the collection, because they were a very popular thing on the home front in World War II. However, what really drew me to this one is it still maintains its original shipping envelope. So you can see here it was shipped from Jefferson Barracks in 1942 on October 26th. Here you can see from Private Richard Gutman, and then you have to Miss Eileen C. I believe that's Puskis. So, Pusks. So, really cool. From my local area here in Cleveland. I've never seen this before. I've seen lots of the pillow covers. However, I've never seen them retaining their original shipping envelope. So, I thought that was really interesting. I was really happy to add it to the collection. And, of course, I always just love these personal items. So, just a nice piece here overall. And you definitely just can't go wrong for free. Now, moving on from there, my family took a short weekend trip to Pittsburgh for a couple of days, and I got some pretty cool finds there. So first up here, we have this patch. This is just a basic U.S. Navy radioman's patch. I bought it for, I believe it's like $3, so about what it's worth. I bought it at the Soldiers and Sailors Monument Museum in downtown Pittsburgh. So the money's going to a good cause, and it was their only World War II patch that they had for sale from their surplus, so I figured, why not? I'll pick it up. And then after that, on the way home, we stopped at an antique store still in Pittsburgh. And right here, which is, again, a little interesting thing. I think I paid like a couple of dollars for this. This is just a portrait of a U.S. sailor from World War II. I thought it was an interesting picture. I liked the not-so-professional look of taking it against a flagpole, or a light pole or a flagpole there. So, just an interesting find. You can never go wrong with photographs. And a book here, Collier's Photographic History of World War II. And I'm going to actually flip to an interesting page here that I saw. Now, keep in mind, this was published in 1944, before the end of the war. So, for instance, you have this page here talking about V1 rockets. And I thought it was super interesting. If you can't read it here, I'll put some pictures up on the screen. But it's titled Nazi Secret Weapon, a robot bomb shot down over southern England by RAF fighters, which I thought was very interesting, because you have to keep in mind this was still top secret information. They still didn't fully know what these were when this book was produced, or at least if they did, they weren't publishing it to the public. So really cool here. You can tell that this is a period piece, and I've always said collecting books and like photographic collections from World War II just provides such an interesting perspective, because you can tell the mindset and the knowledge of the people writing this book. So obviously this doesn't have the end of World War II, or even the victory in Europe versus the victory in Japan. So, very cool book here. I was happy to find it. I believe I paid $20 for it. And it's just a nice table piece or something to flip through. And of course, it has that interesting thing there about the V1 rockets. So moving on, we have our last piece here. We have this really, really nice piece of trench art. So this is made from a French, I believe it's 75 millimeter shell. And you can see here that it was crimped down here. And it has a really cool flower etched into the side here. And it's just dots all the way around, smooth on the back. But you have this flower here. And I will give you a look at the head stamp here. Here you can see where the primer used to be. They knocked it out. And this is a World War I French shell produced in 1916. And I got a really good deal on it. They were originally asking $75, and I had the owner of the antique mall call the seller, and I talked him down to $55. So for $55 to get an original piece of World War I trench art, I'm super happy with this. This is my first piece of larger trench art. It's been on my bucket list for a while, and I'm really happy to get my hands on it. So that was all from my Pittsburgh excursion. And then most recently, I've been buying items from the collection of a collector in Washington State. And I got some really amazing finds from his collection. I've bought multiple boxes from him now, and they all just came in the mail, hence why I'm recording today. And let's just get right into these. And these are some of the best finds I've had all year so far. So starting off, we have this really nice Hitler Youth Canteen, and by itself, it's already in very nice condition. Unfortunately, the holder here is broken off on the cap. However, otherwise, the cover's in really nice condition. There's a couple of holes here on the back. The leather isn't too bad. But why I purchased it was if we open it up here and take the canteen out of the cover, you'll see that it actually has signatures all over the canteen. And it's kind of hard to see on camera because of the reflection. But it was captured by a particular unit in Europe, which unfortunately I just cannot recall off the top of my head. There's no documentation or anything written on this to tell. The seller told me that he had the original owner of it tell me what unit he was in. So I'll put something up here to tell you guys what unit. But overall, it has all the signatures of that guy, of that guy's unit. Really cool canteen. It's going to make a great display piece. Again, I love these personal items, the souvenirs. Makes it a really cool thing to study. And yeah, canteen, great find. Happy to get my hands on it. I believe it was a bulk deal, so I can't say exactly as to how much I paid for that individual item, but once we see for each payment, I will discuss that. So next up, we have my favorite item of the first box that I received. This is the handwritten journal of a B-17 radio man by the name of John P. Red. And what's interesting is he served, as I said, as a radio man, and he was on his 8th bombing mission over Austria until he was shot down and held as a POW for 11 months. So here, I'll get right to the page. So here you can see he's in Italy, and then Vienna, Austria right here, July 16th, 1944, missing in action. Bombing Shell oil refineries, B-17s. He mentions the weather as well, and then prisoner of war shot down by German flak. Moving on here, you have captured by SS, Waffen-SS, and he defines it as the armed SS Vienna. And what's interesting is during World War II, the SS didn't have jurisdiction over shot-down pilots. That was actually the Luftwaffe that was in charge of holding Allied POWs shot down over German territory. So, July 1944, POW in Germany, Luftwaffe base Vienna, in Oberrussel, Germany, or Frankfurt, at Stalag Luft solitary confinement. And then over here it says Wetzlar, Germany, Dulag Luft, weather, rain, warm, hot. Moving on here, August 1944, Stalag Luft's Nummer 4, Groß Teichau, Pomerania, Germany, POW, Lodger C, arrived August 6, 1944. They have half rations. And he's asking here, liberation by the Russians, because at that point, he was still so far east that the Russians were closing in at that particular camp. And here you can see down here, he mentions a reception hot, including police dogs and bayonets. February 7th of 1945. What's interesting about this POW camp is because of the incoming Russians, the Germans forced all of the POWs to march over a couple dozen miles to a camp further west. And he's leaving Stalag Luft Nummer 4 because of the Russians coming, moving out. They didn't make it in time. And then it talks about here, February 7th, 1945, March to 1945 in northern Germany. He was on the forced march from Stalag 2B, or no, from Luft 4 past Berlin to Stalag 2B because of the Russians over here. Weather, cold, clear, some snow, rain, etc., and no food. And that is actually completely accurate. There was little to no food for the entire march, and many people died of starvation or sickness because of it. April 16th, 1945, Stalag 2B, or Bay, if I want to go in German. Fallingbostel, Germany. Here you can see liberated by the British 7th Armored Division, 21st British Army Group. Still no food. And then here, April 1945, he drew out a map of what the situation looked like in Germany when he was liberated. And what's interesting here about this book is this is actually one of my favorite items in my collection now. These personal items that you know was held by somebody in some of the toughest times in their entire lives, and it's documented for you to hold and read now, is just so incredible to me. I am so happy to have this in my collection. I've already fully researched the man behind this journal. If any of you guys would be interested in seeing that research, I could publish an individual video about the history of this man with this notebook. He went on to serve in Korea as well. So just a very cool thing. Beautiful condition. All the handwriting is still very well preserved. And I'm just more than happy to have this in my collection. And then the last item here that I have is unfortunately something I cannot put on the desk because it's too big. However, it's a framed grouping here that I'll put up a picture of Sergeant Lloyd Mike Aenan's medals. So what's interesting is this guy that I bought it from lives in Washington State. However, this soldier originally was born in Cleveland, served, came back to Cleveland, lived in Cleveland, and died in Cleveland. So this guy was a Cleveland man for his entire life. He was a member of a local VFW here in Cleveland, and I brought his medals back to Cleveland, and I can say I'm happy that I've done that. He was in, again, I can't remember the unit off the top of my head. I'll put it up here. But he was in an ordnance unit, and some of the medals here, we have the Army Good Conduct Medal, the American Defense Service Medal, of course, the World War II Victory Medal. And then we have the American Campaign Medal, the Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 3 campaign stars, and then the Philippine Liberation Medal with 1 campaign star. And then heading towards the bottom of the frame, you have his nameplate there. You have his U.S. Army service ring, his rifle qualification badge. That's actually an M1 Garand shell there with a 1944 head stamp. You also have all 3 of his dog tags there nailed in, which was incredibly helpful when I researched him. And then a couple of his unit insignia and his ribbon bar, as well as his rank. So very happy to add this collection as well. Overall, I believe I paid $350 including shipping for these 3 items. I thought that was a very fair price. All very cool items to add to the collection. The medal grouping is beautiful. I'm happy to have an original photograph of him as well. That's usually very difficult to find. And yeah, I'm just extremely happy to get this stuff. And then I said, the stuff has arrived, and he said, well, I have more for sale. Would you like to look at that? And that's where it grew from there. Oh, and I almost forgot one more thing on the back of that frame. There's a letter from Stars and Stripes addressed to either him or his son about his service, and then a couple of cards pertaining to the Stars and Stripes and his local VFW post, which I can put up another picture here. But anyway, so then I got the second box yesterday, and this grouping of stuff is equally as exciting or impressive or whatever you want to say. So first off, I'll start with these two helmets I received. These are World War I US M17 combat helmets with a sand finish. And man, am I happy to get these. I paid $150 a piece for each of these helmets, and they are in mint condition. These are some of the most beautiful World War I helmets I've seen. And I have them now. I have two of them, for instance. But anyway, so inside liner, you can see it's completely intact, especially with the very seldomly seen chin strap in very, very pliable leather still. Now, I do have to be careful because the pads in these do have asbestos. However, it shouldn't be a problem as long as it's not airborne dust. But here you can see the tar-coated fabric. You can see the liner suspension system there. And I don't know if you can see it on camera, but you actually have a maker's mark there, ZC24. So of the two, I'm thinking about selling one of them just to make back some of the money. However, this one would definitely be the one I keep. It's in beautiful condition. It still has the maker's mark up there. It still has the chin strap. Just overall, it's one of the best examples you could get of a P17. But not only did I get one, I got two of them. Here is the next one here. It's in a little bit less as good condition. You can see there's some staining on there. It's a little more scratched up. However, on the inside, it's still just as beautiful as the other one. Chin strap is still completely pliable and beautiful condition, all original. Again, the tar-covered fabric there with this liner system. Actually, while filming this video, I just realized this one has a maker mark as well, which I've never noticed before. It's reading ZG56, and I'll put up a better picture there. That's a little hard to see. It's a lighter stamp, but anyway. Anyway, these are just beautiful helmets. Super happy to get these in my collection. These are my first World War I helmets. I've been super happy to get these in the collection. As I said, they're very uncommon, so this just absolutely made my day when I saw that I could get these for $150 a piece. But anyway, moving on here. We have our last grouping of items. And this is by far the best items I've picked up of all of this. This is a original metal grouping belonging to a member of the Merrell's Marauders. His name was Roland Rasmussen, and unfortunately I cannot find a period picture of him. However, I will include a picture of him here from his Veterans Affairs card. And he served valiantly in World War II as a volunteer for the Merrell's Marauders. He received a Bronze Star, a Purple Heart, and a number of other medals for his time there in the Pacific. And I'll put up pictures here as I'm talking about the medals. Unfortunately, they're all bagged up right now. I don't have anywhere clean to store them, so I'm not going to take them all out at the moment. I'll probably do an individual video just on this grouping, so you will see this grouping again. But you can see his Bronze Star, his Purple Heart. This is the China War Memorial Medal. He had a Presidential Unit Citation. And what's interesting here is I've also done the research to find what exactly got him this Purple Heart, which is incredible. It's very rare to be able to know exactly what a person did to receive their Purple Heart, but I did the research, I got the documentation, and I know what happened, which again is something I will get into in that video. But anyway, a great collection there. But then not only did he serve in World War II, he then went on to serve in the reserves until Vietnam, and he saw service in Vietnam in the U.S. Air Force, and he has a number of medals here for his time in Vietnam. Again, another unit citation, or Presidential Unit Citation from the Air Force, a Vietnam Campaign Medal, a Vietnam Service Medal, a Air Force Commendation Medal, just all kinds of great stuff in there. Again, I'm going to go into depth on an individual video. Here I have, here I'm actually not going to show that information. I have his Social Security card. I have his Veterans Affairs cards, some of his other military-related membership cards. So I'm not going to show these in this video. I'll have to think if I ever want to show them in the other video. Because of the private information, I know even though he's deceased, I might just still keep it private. But I have all of his cards. That allowed me to do the research on him a lot easier. And then here I have the patches. So I have the China-Burma Theater campaign patch, the Merrell's Marauders patch, which unfortunately is a reproduction purchased by the family at some point to put in a frame, which is another thing. Unfortunately, these medals are a beautiful grouping, but a lot of them have glue on them, and the medal clasps have been clipped off the back because they were originally in a frame and then ripped out. However, I do have his original World War II private's rank, another Rangers Merrell's Marauders patch here, and his Air Force rank patch there. So overall, probably my favorite personal item / medal grouping to date. This is my first Purple Heart and Bronze Star in the collection as well. I've never really gotten into medal groupings until now, but I'm happy that I did. This is definitely the beginning of a good collection of medal groupings. But anyway, if you enjoyed, make sure to hit the like button, and when you're in that area, hit the subscription button and notification bell. We have plenty of videos coming just like this in the near future, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!